Danny had been racing around the ghost zone on his hell cycle while trying to map out the area he was in, finding that he'd gotten lost. While riding around, he then found a new place he'd never been to before and decided to check it out, riding down into a frozen cavern and driving around the large icicles. He'd pulled to a skidding stop, sliding sideways on the bike, seeing a large white beast that was roaring out and attacking them. The beast slammed their fists down at Danny as he went intangible, making them strike the hell cycle, which Danny tells him to watch the paint job before blasting them backwards onto a wall, making some hanging icicles drop down like bars in a cage around them. Picking up one of the icicles, they threw it at a cliff side above our half ghost, making snow pile onto them, and Danny then noticed an icicle shard on the beast's back and so blasted it. This made them calm down and they spoke, saying the pain was gone, and helped Danny up, thanking him for his help before realizing who he was, calling him the savior of the ghost zone. He then kneeled to Danny, saying that he was but a humble servant, and introduced himself as Frostbite, leader of the Far Frozen, though Danny says that he wasn't interested in having servants, but it'd be nice to be friends and allies. Frostbite smiled hearing that and said to come. His people will want to meet the Great One, and they shall have a feast in his honor. They showed him a cavern in which they had carved the story of Danny vanquishing the Ghost King, and asked if it was to his liking. Danny tells them that it's cool, but he's sorta lost and trying to find his way back to the Fenton portal. The Far Frozen leader told Danny that they could help with that, and they showed him an item called the Infomap. It was capable of reading their mind and showing them all of the ghost zone as well as entrances, both natural and man-made, and that they should never stray from their path, which is why they would be escorting them home with it. Nodding, Danny handed the map back to Frostbite, telling them to just let him grab his bike and they could get going. We then cut to Vlad, who was talking to a white cat and sighed, wishing that there was something more to do. And the cat purred while rubbing against them and meowed, which Vlad said that was an excellent idea, and turned on the television, flipping it to the surveillance of Fenton Works. Flipping it to the basement, they see Danny coming in while driving his hell cycle through the Fenton portal and changing back to human, thanking Frostbite for showing him how to get home, as Vlad recognizes the map with Frostbite, telling Danny it was a pleasure. Our older half-ghost villain then grabs a book, opening it, reading about the Infomap, then began doing some digging on Frostbite and finding that he was the leader of the Far Frozen. He then found what the area looked like in another book. We cut to later on with Danny telling his friends and family about what happened earlier, and see Frostbite come from the portal roaring out as the others were about to attack, but Danny told them to wait, as we see that he looked seriously hurt and fell onto the floor, telling Danny that Plasmius has the map. They tried to stop them, but Danny tells them that he'll take care of him, not to worry. Danny tells them not to worry, they'll handle it. Then said that they needed someone to watch the portal and help Frostbite to get better. Dan and himself would meet up with the Fright Knight inside the ghost zone and find Plasmius to take them down. They asked how he would be able to find him, and Dan says that they have their ways, as the two of them changed into their ghost forms and took off, with Danny on the hell cycle since it was faster than flying. We hear a horse making sounds as the Fright Knight pulls up beside them on his flying steed, saying that Father had relayed the message that they needed his help. Thanking him for coming, Dan explains that Plasmius stole the Infomap and they gotta get it back. The Knight says that with it they could be anywhere, asking how exactly they were going to find him. Danny says he already knows where they are. The two older men questioned how, and he tells them that Vlad is vain and loves to feel superior to other people. There's only one place he would go to use the map, Pariah's Keep. He'd be on the throne right about now, looking over the map and trying to memorize where the map led to. Nodding, they all went off to the keep, as Plasmius says that this is a surprise that they found him so quickly. Danny tells him to cut to the chase, to which Vlad says if he insists, and uses the map to take him to his destiny. The three students of Soul then chased after him, with Danny asking the Fright Knight if he could cut them off. Nodding, the knight does just that, and slams the flat part of his blade onto Vlad's hand, making him drop it. The map then began to fly wildly. It became a free-for-all as they were trying to stop Vlad from grabbing the map, Dan unleashing the ghostly whale to blow Vlad away, with Danny chasing the map with his hell cycle and grabbing onto it as the map began to glow and pulled Danny away. Where to, they weren't sure, but wherever it was, there was no telling what's going to happen. Once the map stopped, Danny looked around confused as Vlad's voice asked, "Come back, have we?" Turning, ready to fight, Danny then stopped, seeing the Vlad from Dan's alternate future. He was confused, asking what happened exactly, though the future Vlad says that he hasn't the foggiest, given Dan just up and vanished one day. Danny tells him that he may have something to do with that. Dan is back in his time, and has become an ally, helping to protect Amity Park along with the Fright Knight. Future Vlad seemed surprised to hear that, but smiled with tears swelling up in his eyes as he spoke, saying that at least they got a second chance to set things right. Sitting down in his chair, he thanked Danny for helping to set right the wrongs that he had committed. Our hero saw how sincere he was and asked if they would like to come back too, and have a second chance of his own. Though the future former half-ghost tells him that he can't go with them. He'd been waiting on this day for far too long, and now that it's here, he can finally rest and join the others in the afterlife. There's just one regret he had left, that he'd never told his Danny the truth. How he wished to hear it at least once before he goes. To which Danny puts his hand on the old man's shoulders and spoke, "I forgive you, Dad." Smiling with tears spilling over from his eyes, future Vlad thanks Danny as he slowly closed to them, and his body then went limp. As we see a burning candle nearby flickering and going out, he decided that they deserved a proper burial and faced the body underneath the ground, saying goodbye, then stood opening up the map, telling it to take him to Frostbite in his time back at Fenton Works.